Hi, this is Nanette Hosenfeld with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Saturday, July 17th, 2021. Looking at fire potential impacts over the next few days, we will see smoke reducing visibility across much of the northern part of the Great Basin. We are expecting hazy skies across much of the area, but the greatest impacts will be across Idaho and into far northern Utah and Nevada. We do have some moisture in place today, which will lead to some isolated wet and dry thunderstorms across the eastern part of the Great Basin. Then moving into Sunday, we'll see a moisture surge from the south, leading to more widespread thunderstorms across the southern part of the Great Basin, with those spreading northward on Monday. This is looking at our afternoon smoke and visibility forecast. This afternoon, we are expecting the greatest smoke impacts across the northern portions of the Great Basin, just due to the wind patterns and the fire locations. Surface visibilities generally should be above 30 to 50 statute miles, although we could see some pockets of lower visibilities across portions of Nevada and Idaho. And you can see those lower areas on the map there. Then for Sunday afternoon, a pretty similar picture. There is a potential to see some lower visibility across the southern part of the Great Basin, but again, the greatest smoke impacts will be across the far northern part of the area. Over the past 24 hours, we did have quite a bit of lightning across the Great Basin. It was focused across portions of eastern and central Nevada and western and southern Utah, and a portion of central Idaho. The storms across the far southern part of the Great Basin and the central part of the Great Basin were mostly wet. However, storms were a little drier across the central Idaho mountains. This is looking at our Great Basin fire activity. We did pick up a few new starts yesterday, and you can see the larger yellow circles showing larger fires in the area. One of the new fires yesterday was a tamarack fire in the Humboldt-Toyabe. Really impressive growth yesterday afternoon, as you can see from the satellite image and that camera image of the fire. ERCs are at near record values across the northern half of the Great Basin. You can see quite a few stations there above the 90th and even the 97th percentile. It's a very different story across the southern half of the Great Basin, where we've seen higher relative humidity and precipitation, and many ERCs across the south are below the 50th percentile. GB1 in the central Idaho mountains is well above record values. It went from below normal at the beginning of middle of June to above record by the middle of July. So pretty fast increase there, and again, that's just from the record heat that we saw across that area for quite some time. It's a different story in GB34, where it went from setting records down to below normal in a matter of a few weeks. So that monsoonal moisture has really had an impact on the southern part of the Great Basin. Satellite this morning shows smoke from the storms in Nevada and California and Oregon moving into the Great Basin. And again, we're expecting the greatest smoke impacts across the northern part of the area. For today, we do have a little drier air in place than we did yesterday. With the driest conditions across the northwestern part of the Great Basin, you can see our PSAs in the southern part of the area have gone to green. That is due to that monsoonal moisture. Looking at that in more detail, you can see dry conditions this afternoon across northern Nevada, portions of Idaho, with some of those areas showing single-digit relative humidities. However, further to the southeast, humidities will be higher, and we are expecting good overnight recovery there. Lightning will be less widespread today than what we saw yesterday, with coverage mainly across the far eastern part of the Great Basin. Then as far as wind gusts, could see some elevated winds near northwestern Nevada into portions of the Snake River Plain and the central Idaho mountains. Those wind speeds will generally be in that 20 to 30 mile an hour range. Then as we move into Sunday, looking at another moisture surge from the south, we have a high risk out for lightning for portions of central and southern Nevada as that lightning moves into areas that have been drier. If we take a look at that in more detail, again, you can see higher relative humidities across far southern Nevada as that deeper moisture surges northward. Greater coverage on Sunday of that lightning, as you can see with that moisture surge. and the main concern there is for kind of the edge of that moisture where there's a potential for a mix of wet and dry thunderstorms. Winds on Sunday will generally be light. We will see gusty outflow winds near any thunderstorms that do develop. Moving into Monday, quite a bit of moisture in place, continuing to move north into northern Nevada, northern Utah, and southwestern Idaho. So we have those areas highlighted for the high risk on Monday. The storms further south will be more of a mix of wet and dry. So the main concern Monday is for those red highlighted areas. You can see that lightning map on the right showing pretty good coverage of lightning on Monday. And again, the main concern would be across the central northern Idaho, or central northern Nevada into southern Idaho, where conditions are drier. You can see those relative humidities, which are on the map on the left, do come up into Monday across portions of Nevada that have been quite dry. So that will be good news. We'll start to see better overnight recoveries starting on Monday across areas further north in the Great Basin. Looking at winds for Monday, again, generally light winds. The exception to that will be thunderstorm outflow winds. Looking at 3-day precipitation accumulation, we should see spotty precipitation across much of the Great Basin over the next 3 days, with the greatest accumulations possible across the higher terrain of the central and southern portion of the area. Moving into Tuesday, that main lightning threat shifts north into the central Idaho mountains and eastern Idaho, where there's the greatest potential for dry lightning. The storms further south, as I've been saying, I might start sounding like a broken record, will be wetter, and so no high risk out for those storms across the south. Then moving into Wednesday, still keeping moisture in place across the Great Basin, expecting most of the storms across the southeastern part of the area to be mainly wet. Moving into Thursday, similar setup with that moisture in place across the area. We could potentially begin to see some elevated winds across the northwestern part of the Great Basin on Thursday ahead of that upper low over the eastern Pacific. And then moving into Friday as that upper low moves closer to the area, looking at moisture remaining in place across the Great Basin. So quite a prolonged period of moisture impacting the Great Basin. Over the next 7 days, again, expecting to see thunderstorms across almost all areas of the Great Basin. Areas further to the north will see more of a mix of wet and dry thunderstorms, so not as much precipitation accumulation there. But further to the south, you can see some pretty good precipitation totals expected over the next week. The purple on the map is almost 2 inches of rain, so looking pretty wet across the south with drier storms further north. The 8 to 14 day period, the Climate Prediction Center is looking at a prolonged period of moisture in place across the area. So good news for the south. It could be a concern for those areas on the fringes of the moisture because we typically expect to see more of a mix of wet and dry storms along the fringe of the moisture and holding on to above normal temperatures for the northern part of the area. So that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Our information is on the screen and you can also find us on Twitter. Thanks.